to this day, she's the only person where I had no words because she's like the idol of my life growing up. First time I met Bebo, and imagine the first day I met her, I get to be in a music video with her. So strange. I said this in a couple of interviews where I was like, "ये मेरे औकात से बाहर है. इतना बड़ा सपना देख how iconic she is across generations. Like Annie and me and everybody, 10, 15 years later is still talking about this role and this woman and how much that had an impact on all of us growing up."
For all film related interviews, reviews, and content, please like and subscribe to Pooja Talwar. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram.
Hi, Lisa. Lovely to meet you. Let me tell you, I actually really liked Harleen's character because I thought this was one person who came with layers in the sense, like she had
Mm,
gravitas because you didn't know which way she would go, whether she
yeah,
would be a girl's girl or whether she would be, Satya's girl. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so, but the thing was, I liked that she was a girl's girl. What was it
Yes.
that kind of appealed to you when Harleen came to you? Because the girl had a lot of layers to herself.
Yeah, I think, when I auditioned for this role, my audition scene was the confrontation between me and Veer backstage, which was a very difficult scene to do as it is because I have to change from being his boss and being very strong and then quickly changing into being his girlfriend and suddenly sort of allowing what I know is bad for me to continue happening. And I think just when I read that one scene for the audition, I knew I really wanted to play this character because, like you said, she's very multidimensional. She has a lot of depth, and she's grounded in a reality that sometimes you have to shake hands with the devil to get where you need to go. And we're very lucky that she comes around by the end and realizes nothing is worth that. Nothing is worth giving up your values and especially your band code, but your camaraderie with your girls to and in like sacrificing more women along the way just to get ahead is not worth it because you've been through that yourself. You know how this space works and you've seen it and experienced it with your own eyes. So I think it really drew me to the character. I think she has a great sense of maturity. And I think it is realistic to portray a woman as sometimes another woman's enemy in the beginning. That, it takes a reality check for a lot of women to come around because we don't have the privilege of being afforded certain opportunities at the, beginning stages of our career. Sometimes it does feel like we we have to say yes to the wrong things and befriend the wrong people. So I think I really enjoy that Ishita wrote the character in a way that feels very real, that she has to juggle, her values with her success, which I think all women have to do, especially in the corporate world for sure.
Well, it's interesting you said that because there are no references, right? We judge
Yeah,
everything from the prism of the male perspective because you've had male bosses. You wouldn't know
yeah,
how a female would react. And the females you've had have reacted just like that because there are horror stories of many saying that the female boss was toxic, right? But
yeah.
then you also look back saying there are no references. So I like that
Mm,
dynamics because she is in that position. She is this girl's boss. She could
yeah,
have
totally.
either nurtured her or destroyed her, but then she
Yeah.
realizes the path she wants to take. So that's what appealed to me about Harleen as well. And now they have announced season 2. So where do we see you going
Yes.
from? So where do
I
we
have
see
no
Harleen?
idea yet. I'd really like to see what makes Harleen Harleen. So a little backstory maybe about her life and um that could explain the sort of woman that she is. It's I think it's incredible that we get to see even though she's not on screen the whole time, she has this really remarkable arc. And I wanna know more about the character myself, even though I played her. So I hope that we get to see why she is the way that she is, where she comes from. Is she from a small town? Did she have to work her way up in this space? Or what is her life like beyond the office? So I think my hope is that in season 2, we kind of get to explore who she is beyond work, her 8 hours at the office in the day.
Absolutely. So, what was it like working with Veer? Because you both have the longest screen time together,
Yeah.
and it also seems very instinctive, and so do you.
Yes.
So, I mean, I wouldn't say that you are actors trained as actors. It's very instinctive, the reactions. So, what was
Hmm.
that like?
It's so two ways to answer this question. I think one is that it's surreal acting opposite Veed because 8 years ago, when I was a data analyst in Chicago, way before I had any aspirations for being in the in entertainment industry, let alone the one in India, um, I had no idea where my life would take me. And I was at a stand-up show in Chicago with really bad seats because that's what I could afford at the time to see V because I was excited that like this Indian comic had made it all the way to America and he was on tour. So I went and saw him. And I think it was very surreal for me to then be told after I was cast that I would be opposite him in the show as his love interest, as his boss, and that my, primary screen time would be with him. Um, it's just strange, the journey that I've been on to get to this point and to sort of take stock of all the things in my life that have happened since then in those 8 years. That's put me opposite this person that I admire, and clearly have been a fan of for a very long time. If I was willing to spend what money I had to go see him do some stand up. Aside from that, I think you're completely right. I think we are both more sort of instinctive actors, and I think we didn't over rehearse any of that. We didn't even rehearse any of that with each other. I think we wanted to see what would happen after we came on set. And it feels natural because from the very first take, it's the only time we've ever done it with each other. So I treated it as if it were real, and I think so did he. So that was great, and he's such a professional in between every take because it's a very tense scene. That first one that we do, the confrontation. So he was such a gentleman. In between every single cut, he would ask if I was comfortable, if he was too close to me. So I think he has an incredible amount of respect for personal space, and I felt very safe, and like I was working with a professional the whole time. But at the same time, the like 8 year ago version of me in my head is thinking, "Is this real? I can't believe I get to be on a show with V."
Wow. And who would have thought the data analyst from Chicago would also be part of the Lollapalooza 2025? It certainly, oh yeah.
Yeah. Even that I think is a very full circle moment for me. I think this year has been it's really humbled me, how the universe works and conspires to make you reach these spaces. Lollapalooza is my hometown show. Again, something I could never afford the tickets to when I was growing up. I would try to sneak in, I would try to, slip off and read somebody's band and whatever way that we could try to get in since I was 13, 14 years old of trying to attend this concert and now to be on the stage myself. And I think there's no better way to have done it than Lollapalooza India because it's bridging my two worlds together. I'm playing my hometown show in my new hometown. So it's a really poetic sort of full circle moment. In the same way that, Call Me Way was, which as an NRI, I'm sure you know this, all NRIs grow up on Dharma movies because it was our first touch point as like, oh, this is what life is like abroad. So it really appealed to us as kids when we watched films like Kal Ho Na Ho and Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. So to launch on Dharma on that banner, and like today, just now when we announced season two, Karan had tagged us for the cast announcement, and I'm like, this can't be real. Like, why is Karan Johar's name in my DMs? So I think every day for me is an active practice of gratitude for the way things have worked out. I mean, I've worked hard, but I can't say I did it without some luck along the way.
Oh, that's awesome. And also the fact that Bay is Pooh 2.0 and the fact that you've also
Totally.
rendered vocals for the original Pooh's Be Ready Wedding, Tarifa.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
so weird. I feel it's so crazy that my life has all these little, and for me, when I walked on set, when we made the music video for Tarifa, um, to this day, she's the only person where I had no words because she's like the idol of my life growing up. And it was really, really cool. Even when the first time I met Bebo, and imagine the first day I met her, I get to be in a music video with her. So strange. And that is day one. Actually, that was day zero for me as an implant into this industry. So every single day, I'm acutely aware I'm living a dream.
Wow. So what was it like when you met Kareena Kapoor? I mean, as you said, she is the iconic Pooh, the Geet.
Yeah, she's an icon in every sense, and it's so funny you actually nailed it. I think Ananya does play a version of that character in this show, and that tells you exactly how iconic she is across generations. Like Annie and me and everybody, 10, 15 years later is still talking about this role and this woman and how much that had an impact on all of us growing up. Um, so I was like, I had no words when I saw her, and I was just like, this isn't real. None of this is real. This can't be real.
Awesome. And now you have Royals coming up with Bhumi.
Royals coming up, yes, which is amazing too in its own separate way. She's
Zenith
my
Aman
dad.
also. The iconic
Yes.
Dum Dum Dum.
So my dad's two favorite actresses, yesteryear favorite is Zinat Aman, and current for many, many years has been Bhumi. So when I told him I landed on Royals, he was like, "No way, that's not real." So, a few days on set go by, and I asked Bhumi, "Could you talk to my dad?" Because I think he would really love to hear from you. And so I gave the phone, and he named every film and how he's such a huge. He's like, "I loved you in this. I thought you could have done this. I think you should do this." I was like, I don't think he needs the advice. But my dad is a Bhumi Pednekar super fan. So I think it was really sweet for him to kind of get that moment to communicate how much he absolutely loves her on screen. So yeah, and of course, Dina Taman is his all-time favorite. So I think this was more for my dad than me. It was his dream project.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I mean, you've just made a complete career switch and also come into this industry, which is very tough for people to navigate.
Yes.
Extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, what was this? Was it one of those things that I am doing something just out of the blue? Man, people say the harebrained idea, or what was it? Or was it
Yeah.
fully thought of?
Totally. I think it was, for many years, I said this in a couple of interviews where I was like, "ये मेरे औकात से बाहर है, इतना बड़ा सपना देखना." I was very like, you cannot fathom what is now my reality as somebody, 6 years ago sitting at a desk job. And like really it feels like I don't have the right to dream this big, but now I'm getting to do these things I couldn't even think about 6 years ago. Every single day is a practice in humility and gratitude for sure. And I had no intention of entering either industry professionally. I thought I would be sitting for the rest of my life in my bedroom and playing guitar and putting up songs on YouTube because I did that for 11 years and no one cared for so long. And my early days of 1,000 subscribers was so meaningful. The first time we hit 50,000 subscribers was so meaningful. And it took me 11 years to get 50,000 subscribers. And I thought that was the peak. I was like, this is it. This is the maximum of my potential. And so, yeah, I never, ever could have envisioned the way that my music career happened. And then especially even with acting, because we've been auditioning me for so long. I started auditioning 3 months after I moved here in 2018. And first for an ad, and then, over the years, starting to audition for films and OTT. And I wasn't booking those gigs because I wasn't ready. So just like you have to take music seriously, and I always have, I knew that I had a long way to go to learn as much as I could to be authentic on screen. And I think a big part of that was learning to be fluent in Hindi. Another huge part of it was learning to have an Indian accent when I spoke English. That was a big thing. Um, because I can't sound like this when I'm being Harleen. So that takes time. So it's acquiring skills, it's training, it's all of this stuff that goes into making it in an industry that is this competitive and this big. So yeah, I think I've survived, and I am just now I'm feeling it. I'm starting to thrive.
So you are. So in Lola, which is the act that you're really looking forward to?
In
Other
Lola, my childhood favorite band is Green Day, and in sixth grade, I wrote I was so pretentious. At 12 years old, I wrote a paper about the cultural significance of Green Day and did like a deep dive into their lyrics. So I think it's crazy that my name is on the same banner as them for a music festival now. What like nearly 20 years later. So it's crazy. It just feels very, very humbling and surreal. This is like, I swear to God, no one can predict my life. I never know what's going on. Nothing seems real.
so cool. You should get your that paper and the poster together.
I
Like,
know. I think I have this paper somewhere, buried somewhere.
yeah. And that's
Is
how
this
you
is
manifest
this Yeah.
the
And
manifestation is
I
happening
used to
now.
have the CDs inside jacket. Back in those days, if you unfolded the inside jacket of the CD, it was usually a poster. So that
Yeah.
poster was on my wall, and it was such a meaningful like band for me growing up. So I'm very, very excited to see Green Day. That's my number one for sure.
And here you just collaborated with Amit Trivedi as well.
Yes. It's been a wild week. Now I don't know how to take all of this information because every time you're telling me I've done something else, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that happened too. So
Uh,
we recorded this beautiful song called Pyar Besharam 2 years ago, and it's finally released. And I remember Amit Trivedi was actually one of the first composers I ever met. And I walked into his studio not realizing that he was already in the room. And I was supposed to have a meeting with him and sit and kind of, play some music and see if there's potential for us to work together. I don't know who thought that was a good idea for me to walk and pitch myself. And I had no confidence and I was full of nerves. And I just sat there for, I think, half an hour until he turned around and he was like, "Hi, who are you?" And I was like, "I'm supposed to be here to meet Amit Trivedi." He's like, "You are talking to him."
awesome. That's so
And
cool.
yeah, for it, and to be fair, it's because he had changed his whole look. He looked very different. Um, and I was just like, oh God, I've already screwed it up. There's no way he's going to work with me. So years and years later, when we made this, 4 years later, I told him this story, and he's like, I remember. He's like, I will never forget that. So I feel very, very lucky we got to do this song for Kalbali Records, and it's an absolute dream. And after we made that song, he called me the next day and the day after that to keep recording. So I'm glad that he not only got to do this song. Sorry, I not only got to do this song with him rather, but that he's confident enough in me as a musician to have called me back multiple times. Touch wood. Um, it's amazing. I think he's one of those like composers of a lifetime that you dream of working with.
Anyways, as we wrap up, a song that describes you best. That would be your anthem for life. A song.
I'm gonna say the song I composed in Call Me Bay, Yara Tere Bin, I think is my anthem. I it comes from a very, very pure place. My best friends and I made this song together. We composed and sang this song and ended up in the show. And I really have always believed in this track from day one. We made it years ago. We pitched it to the show. The moment Azim Dayani, who's the music supervisor of Dharma, the moment he heard it, he locked it immediately. So I'm really glad that people are loving the song. But more importantly, I'm glad that my friends Rue and Joe, who've made this with me, are getting their long overdue praise. So I'm excited that they get to sort of launch in the industry as well alongside me.
Awesome. And what's your band code?
My band code is that, there's always more seats at the table there, and you just have to be the person to pull the chair out. So, get that chair out and help your girlfriends and make more space. We don't have to compete so hard that we forget. It's tough for us anyways to break through in these spaces. So it only helps us if we help each other.
I so get that. On that note, many congratulations. Keep flying.
Thank you so much.
Uh, Looking forward to seeing you in roles as well as Call Me
Yeah.
Beto.
All right. Thank you so much. This is such a lovely chat.
Likewise, enjoy chatting with you. Take care.
If you've liked this interview, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram.